Hi guys. Let's see, let's try and pin this. Pin comment. Did that work? Yes. Hi everyone. Thank you for joining. Welcome. My name is Jaclyn Johnson and I am going to be joined by the amazing Sallie Krawcheck. Let's see. Let me put these in. I always forget. All right.
Can you guys hear me? Can you guys give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Thumbs up, maybe a heart. If you can't hear me, that's cool too. Okay, thank you for the thumbs up. Glad that you guys can hear me. All right, here is Sallie tuning in from Ellevest. I'll give her a second. Hello.
Hey, Jaclyn.
How's it going?
Good. It's been a while.
I know. Gosh, remember when we first chatted at the very beginning of COVID-19? Now, 4 months later, here we are.
Oh my gosh. In fact, I was just thinking as we were getting ready to speak, I've given up completely on my hair. I think at this point, I was still trying to blow dry it, but it's over. It's just over. It's just going to stay until we all go back to normal.
I understand. I feel that. I'm in a sweatshirt. I feel like it's like every now and then I have a day where I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna like fully put it together, and then it's just exhausting at that point. So we're here, we're doing it. It's real. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. So if you're new to this is the live Priceless Conversation series hosted every Wednesday. It's a digital mentorship program in collaboration with Mastercard, designed for small business owners to navigate the challenges, maintain their business, and focus on the future. So if you guys are tuning in and have questions, use the Q&A button and I will do my best to get to those. So as some of you may already know, each week Mastercard introduced a new expert of the week to engage and ask hard-hitting questions to the Hello Alice community on the Business for All online forum. So everyone jumps in, asks their questions, and then we come here to the Create and Cultivate Instagram Live and we get to talk to those experts live and go through these questions that were submitted. And we're continuing in this program throughout July and further because it's such an important dialogue. And obviously everyone has so many questions, myself included. And joining me this week is Sallie Krawcheck, the CEO and co-founder of Ellevest, a financial company on a mission to get more money in the hands of women, something I can absolutely get behind. And in her past life on Wall Street as the CEO of Merrill Lynch and Smith Barney, Sallie realized that financial products were not serving women and wage gaps are stagnant and women of color face even bigger money gaps. So when the coronavirus pandemic hit, obviously women small business owners were especially affected, but we began to see the financial effects hitting women super hard. So the Ellevest team launched a money membership, which I'm really excited to hear more about, to help women with their finances. So welcome, Sallie.
Jaclyn, happy to be here. You said that you said that in record time. I was impressed.
I talk very fast, so apologies in advance to everyone who's like, I cannot. But honestly, guys, Sallie is a legend. So if you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box because you're getting access to an incredible human being. But today we're going to do some of the questions that were submitted to you from the Hello Alice community, kind of to kick it off. So are you ready, Sallie?
I'm ready.
All right. So I have an event space that is worth salvaging, but I do not have the funds to advertise and get the word out like I used to, and I'm feeling stuck. What are the steps I can take to try and pivot during these times? And I'm sure this is a great question for everyone in the event space who's kind of going through a similar situation.
Well, and look, there's so much that's outside of one's control. I mean, to state the blindingly obvious, when can we have events again? When can we have events the same size that we could have before? So when will the economics of the core business return? And the unfortunate answer is it could be quite some period of time. And so looking first at, what you don't have the funds for advertising, but what do you have, right? You've got your network, you've got the word of mouth, you've got, a social community, presumably. And how can you reach out to them and to engage people? How can you create perhaps a bigger business, a pivoted business, a lifestyle business. And what we're seeing to great effect is you're seeing any number of women's gathering spaces that are becoming more online, bring together people via, whether it's a Google or a Zoom or something, so that core goal, you defined yourself as a meeting space, or you defined yourself as a place for women and people, or people, any genders, to meet. And are there ways that you can tap into the brand and the community and perhaps really transcend, just the event space as well? And that's what we did at Ellevest. We were investing only. And when the pandemic came, we said, okay, the world is changing. What need do we see? And the need we saw was beyond just investing for women. That is sort of 5 chapters in. Or you get to the 5th chapter, it's how do I pay off my debt? Well, we can provide you with education around that. What about my savings? Okay, we can give you a debit card and a savings account around that. And so beginning to think about stepping back and what do you truly represent? Are there adjacent businesses that aren't so expensive to get into that you can use to take advantage of the moment?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love what you said about what do you need now? What do people need now? And thinking about that, it might not be events right now, but it could be spaces to shoot video content. It could be a podcast studio. It could be a lot of different things. Obviously, space is always valuable in some way, shape, or form, but totally agree with you. Okay. So second question from the Hello Alice community. It's a tough time to other entrepreneurs out there in these times of uncertainty.
Well, I lost you for a second. Can you give me that?
Oh, yeah. So the second question is, it's a tough time to be a small business owner right now. What's your advice to other entrepreneurs out there in this time of uncertainty?
Well, first of all, try not to drink too much.
I'm like, Sallie, are you talking to me?
I tell, I say I have that glass of wine by myself every night, whether I need it or not, and I definitely need it. But there's actually a sort of serious undertone to that. What is the self-care? In this difficult moment when businesses are under such stress, when so many women are taking on more of the caregiving responsibilities, no summer camp, are they going back to school? Doing what you have to do, but finding those moments of self-care, whether that's exercise, whether it's meditation, whether it's a glass of wine, and focusing then on what can you control. And one thing you can control is where you're spending your money. And so as we go through this period, we at Ellevest love the 50-30-20 rule. What do I do with my take-home pay? 50% to needs, 30% to fun, 20% to future you, investing, saving, paying off the credit card, 401k. Well, you know what? Maybe you look at the 50 and you say, I don't need, I used to think I needed all of those streaming subscriptions. I used to think I needed the gas to go to work. All right, well, I'm not doing that anymore. Put that in savings. Wait a minute, the fun stuff, well, the only fun I'm having is home right now. That doesn't cost a lot. So maybe that goes into the savings. But, at this time, really looking deep, what is important to me? Is that aligned with where I'm spending my money? How can I save? Saving more. And, looking at your business then, and again, as we were just talking about for the event space, asking yourself deeply, what's the business opportunity right now? If the world is forever changed, if the world is only changed for a while, what do people need today that maybe they didn't need 3 months or 6 months ago? And is that, we all read about great businesses are going to be founded in this downturn. All right, well, here's the business you've got today. But if you were to walk in, know about that business, but start with a little bit of a clean sheet of paper, not be so emotionally invested in it. Not like, oh, this was so hard to do, so we're going to keep that. But just step back and with a rational mind, knowing everything you know, but opening your mind to, yes, things are different. What business would you build today? And the answer might not be, in fact, probably might not be the exact business you've got at this moment.
I think that's such great advice, and almost hard to hear advice, because I do think, there's so many of us that have built these businesses for so long, and like some of us had a really good Q1 and like we're really doing it, but all of a sudden, you know, I think it's coming to amends of like, okay, this is different and we need to like focus on the new normal, and pivot in those ways. So I think that's really good advice of like, what would you do right now? Because obviously, you know, for those of us that thought this might be a month or two, we're in a different boat now. But new question from the Hello Alice community. My husband and I each own our own businesses, but we do not have a retirement plan. Our savings plan is more of an emergency fund. What's the best way to get started?
Well, the best way is to get started, just to get started. You know, open up those retirement savings plans, be they an IRA, be they a SEP IRA that you can contribute more to as a small business owner. And again, let's go back to that 50-30-20 rule. 50% of your take-home pay for needs. By the way, I also recognize, you know, my income isn't, I don't have a salary. My income is lumpy. Yeah, same rule holds. 50, you know, 50%, you know, see what you think it's going to be over the year. And, you know, for each paycheck, say, okay, I got a little more now, you know, I got a little bit less later, but target that 50-30-20. 50% to needs, 30% to fun. Again, we may be having a little less fun right now, but really importantly, 20% to future you. And so where I want you to start, you may say, hey, I don't have the retirement savings right now. Before we even get there, have you paid down your high interest rate debt? That's number one. Those credit cards will cost you. And so I don't even want you to think about retirement yet until you get the high interest rate debt paid down. I also want you to start working, you know, that emergency fund, that needs to be set. And if we need any better lesson, the pandemic has given it to us. That's 6 months of your take-home pay. Again, you got to estimate it a bit as a small business owner in a savings account that you do not touch until the roof falls in, your car breaks, the pandemic has another, you know, sort of leg to it. But that's what that's for. And then you want to start investing for retirement into that tax-deferred type of IRA, 20% of that take-home pay. Now, whoa, I can't do 20%. I got it. Do one. Up it to 2. In 6 months, make it 3, right? Or make it 4, and just begin to make it a habit. I don't want you to say, well, if I can't do it all, I'm not going to do any of it, because something here is much better than nothing.
Yes, absolutely. And for those of you asking, yes, this is being recorded and you will be able to watch it later. But a question from one of the...
Interrupt. The really important thing, women, ladies, is don't let him do it. Our society has always sort of told us that men are better at investing in money. It is not true. It's not true. And by the way, we tend to live longer than our male partners. 80% of us die single. I don't know if that's good news or bad news, but 80% of us die single. And when we outsource retirement savings to him, when it comes back to us, 74% of us have a negative surprise. So just let's make sure it's you and him, not together.
I love that. So someone asked in the comments, can you speak to more to any entrepreneurs or small business owners that are losing money right now, and what you think they should be doing to either curb that or, you know, figure that out?
Well, I mean, you know, this depends on how willing you are to dig deep. To whether it's your own bank account, if you're able to get money from friends and family, if you're able to get a bank loan, if you're able to raise outside equity, if you're able to. And for some people, the unfortunate answer is going to be, you may have to close your business. Sorry, because we're just not taught to give up. There is no shame in that. We are in the midst of an absolute historically difficult environment. The toughest environment business environment that we, our parents, and I think for most of us, our grandparents have ever lived through. And so the bottom line facts is some businesses simply aren't going to make it. And there at all, if there was 6 months ago, none today, given what's going on, was saying this business just doesn't work. And so let me fold it up, stop the bleeding, right? And then in 6 months or a year, when there's a vaccine, either launch that same business again, or more likely launch some version of the business again. So I just wouldn't, the one thing you don't want to get caught on is a sunk cost. A sunk cost is something you spent real money, emotional money, time on something past that you cannot, you can't change that. And so you don't want to make decisions about, but I loved this business, or I spent so much money to start it. If sitting here today, if that money wasn't, a factor, you wouldn't still go down that road. And that's where people make incorrect business decisions, is they confuse sunk cost with ongoing cost, if that makes sense.
Makes total sense. And I love the idea of a pause. And I think that's really important as well. And I know a few people doing that with their businesses where, it's closing down for a period of time until the vaccine opens up. So you're not just bleeding cash, and you're able to, save that money and then reemerge even bigger and better. Okay, so back to the questions from Hello Alex. But guys, if you have a question, drop it in the Q&A box. I'm a recently divorced business owner. I accumulated debt that I've been slowly paying down, but the interest payments are awful. Should I use some of the funds from my small business administration loan disbursements to pay down the debt?
Well, I think by the small business loan, we're probably talking about the PPP. Those loans are forgivable if you use them for certain things. Payroll, for example, is sort of the key one, and some other business expenses. So if you're using them to pay down your personal debt, you should not get forgiveness for the loan, and you'll have to pay back. So you'll end up, and look, maybe there's some, as they call it, a financial arbitrage from taking this loan and paying down that one. But just be clear that so many people took the PPP loan, with the view of this is going to be money that will start as a loan and become a grant. What I want you to do regardless is, I'm glad that you're focused on this. I want you to, if you have several loans outstanding, you really want to start paying down as much as you can of the highest interest one. And for this, I would actually urge you to use any savings that you've got. So not the PPP loan, but savings. My savings? No, that makes me so insecure. But think about it. The savings, even the emergency fund, you're earning about 0%. This high interest rate debt, maybe it's costing you 20%, 15%, 10%. That's bleeding away money. Take this money that's not earning anything and pay it off. Well, wait a minute. That's my emergency fund. What if I have an emergency? Then run up your credit card debt, right? But I've been told not to do that. Yeah, I get it. But look, we're in an emergency right now. Things up. And, taking that credit card debt up at that point in time will cost you much less than keeping this debt outstanding right now. So take that, pay it off, get yourself in a habit of off a bit at every paycheck you get.
Amazing. One of the questions we had from the audience was, if I wanted to open a business right now, where would I even get started? What would your advice be?
Well, that's such a broad question, Jaclyn.
I know.
Sure, follow your heart, follow your head, meditate deeply. Before I founded Ellevest, it took me a long time to come up with the idea. Probably did the same for you with Create and Cultivate. It takes, you have to put in the time to start, I think, for really what is the business? What is your passion? What is the thing the market is missing that other people aren't seeing? What is the demand? What is the problem you're solving? Is you're going to be nice to have, or is it going to be a must have? Or, there's research about successful businesses, if they're pulling from the competition, that what they deliver has to be 10 times better than what's being delivered today, which is a hugely high bar. We think we're doing it at Ellevest as you are doing it at Create and Cultivate. So I think there's that whole big topic, right? And I tell people, don't start a business unless you have to, meaning you are so motivated by it, so excited about it. Your family tells you you're the most boring person in the world because it's all you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
That's business, not when hey, I sort of, gosh, I've got this idea, and then it's a matter of, where do you start? Finding the financing for it. Are you, able to finance it yourself? Are you in that incredibly fortunate position? Do you have friends and family, who will back you? Do you have people you've worked with before who believe in you? Finding those sources of capital Going to a bank and taking out a loan right now, okay, but I think hard about it given where the economy is. That you want to, you want to think once, twice, and three times before taking on leverage debt, just because the environment is so uncertain today.
Absolutely. Okay, next question. As a small business owner, I'm not only stressed about my business, but also my personal finances. What's your best advice to make sure I'm personally prepared for future downturns like this?
That's building that emergency fund. I mean, for the first 3 or 4 years of Ellevest, people are like, yeah, the emergency fund, but shouldn't I be investing in the markets? You're an investing firm. Like, no, not until you have that thing built. And so we always have advised 3 to 6 months take home pay in the bank account, therefore, if, there are real issues. For some businesses, before you get started, you're going to want to have 2 years worth of, your expenses for the business in cash available to you. Why? Because it can take 2 years. Jaclyn, you and I both know this, to sort of, I thought this business was going to meet this need, but it's almost there, but not quite. I got some customers, but then they never came back. So something's good, but not quite. And just the pivot can take 2 years. And so, as you want to have for you personally, that 3 to 6 months. For the business, you want to think about up to 2 years. Different businesses are different, right? You may start a business where it takes a while to generate revenue. There may be other businesses that immediately generate revenue. And so the 2 years should be 1 year, right? But money is sort of a name of the game here, to give yourself the elbow room and the flexibility to make some mistakes. I always say, who is wrong-headed enough to start a business when you're always 1 or 2, maybe 3 mistakes away from, failure. And the answer, you and me, Jaclyn, that's it.
Yes. Okay, another question. I own a floral direction studio. After COVID, I pivoted to retail and delivery services, forcing me to put in a substantial investment upfront from my personal bank account. How can I prevent this in the future? And should I invest in the market instead?
Oh, well, I'm all about investing. And one of the things that I believe we often misestimate is the risk of investing in the equity markets. We tend to, and I know you and I have talked about this, we as women, for whatever reason, the way our brains work, we think the market does this. In fact, historically, the stock market has done that. And I feel confident, I may be wrong, but I feel confident when we look back at, in fact, we've already seen the stock market recover from the pandemic downturn, which you remember back when we talked about before. If you had said to us, it's going to recover this quickly, we would have been like, you are crazy, particularly given the depth of this pandemic and the economic downturn. And so I'm confident that, in 20 years, this downturn will be a little blip. I'm not seeing it. That's my point of view. That's my opinion. But Jaclyn, if you and I had invested $1,000 in the stock market in 1900 and left it there and allowed it to compound and grow, even with not this pandemic, the pandemic of 1917, World War I, World War II, the Great Depression, the Great Recession, stagflation, inflation, the Vietnam War, the Korean War, impeaching a president, oil shocks, Russian ruble crisis, the housing downturn of 07, 08, how much money do you think that $1,000 would be worth? The answer is $57 million.
Wow.
Wow. That is the gender investing gap. The guys have been investing all along, and we have been saving and not investing as much, and we have missed out on that money. So now that I've talked all about investing and how it can help us financially, I do want to say one thing, which is you don't want to invest in the stock market money that you're going to need soon. You need to say, this is money, 10 or 15 years, I don't need it. I don't have to look at it. When the pandemic is going on, I'm not even looking. And then, it can have the chance to recover, and I don't panic about it. So I don't think that even remotely answered the question that you asked me, but I really did want to say, But, you know, in terms of you want to have your short-term, you know, your money that goes in your business, your money that you might need to live on, that's your emergency fund. And then you want to find a way to eke out some investing just to give you that opportunity to build that wealth. Because that's a reason that while the gender pay gap is 82 cents to a man's dollar, our lack of investing means that our wealth gap is 32 cents to a man's dollar. Other reasons.
Wow.
One of the reasons it's in between, we just haven't invested as much.
Absolutely. So we actually had someone ask about Ellevest and the money membership. So can you talk a little bit about, you know, what differentiates Ellevest, what the services provide, and the new membership model?
Yeah, well, you're nice to ask. Thank you. And really, this new membership model is us at Ellevest shifting our business to really try to meet this moment. When we came into the downturn, we said, all right, you know, there are few times in a company's life where people need you. Sometimes they want you, but, you know, we are providing something that people need. And we were investing only, but we said, let's start sooner than that. Let's start with a debit card and a savings account so people can build the emergency fund, with a roundup to help people save more quickly, with learning, because that's a big barrier for us. Oh, I don't know what to do. With webinars and email courses and coaching for those who need it, not just financial planning coaching, but executive coaching as well, career coaching. And let's wrap it all and let's make it as affordable as we possibly can. Let's make the entry level $1 a month. Let's make the top level $9 a month. Let's make it so that women look at this, and our allies and all genders. We're really, you know, we were built with women in mind. Let's make it so women look at this and say, I can't afford, you know, like it's less expensive to do this than to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because if I can use this to close these money gaps, then this thing is completely, you know, taken care of. And so that's why the team, Jaclyn, I'm so proud of the team. You know, I know, you know, with your team, everybody's heartbroken and nervous, scared and exhilarated and fearful and exhausted, and energized. And that's all within like 1 hour.
Yeah.
Team really, the Ellevest team just rallied to say, we are needed. We are part of the solution. We need to meet this moment and move from being investing only, like don't come back to us till you're ready, to, you know, really fulfilling our mission of getting more money in the hands of women in a much more meaningful way.
Absolutely. And I think that's so amazing and so true. And I think both of us, obviously both of our businesses are built to support women. And I think now more than ever, you know, our mission, I feel like, has changed so much, changed and stayed the same, but like just different contexts of like, you know, really women coming to us, asking for this advice, wanting to figure it out, and knowing that like we will all get through this together. And it's interesting because for the first time, it's like we're going through it alongside with our audience, as I'm sure you are too. So it's just an interesting time. But before we conclude today's session, I want to thank you all for tuning into Mastercard's live Priceless Conversations and joining us for this journey as we navigate it all together. And Sallie, thank you so much for being a part of today's live stream. You are amazing. And guys, this is recorded and will be posted on our feed and in our IGTV. So if you missed something, you can tune back in. Join me for our final session on July 29th with Antonia LaFaso, who will be sharing how to thrive in the hospitality-based business, which I know has taken a hit during this time. And if you want to ask her questions, head to Hello Alice Business for All community by visiting the Hello Alice website, submit your question, and you'll get it answered here. I look forward to seeing you again on July 29th. And thank you so much, Sallie, for such an incredible session.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye, guys.